So Jason Whitlock went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson, and he was giving a commentary on Tyre Nichols. Now, brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we know what Jason Whitlock can be on. You know, like I said, a broken clock at times is right twice a day. But in this situation here, Jason Whitlock just, in my opinion, just went way too far. But let's go ahead and roll that.
I would examine the racial element of this because there is a racial element. And this is a story about young black men and their inability to treat each other in a humane way. Everybody involved in this on the street level was either 24 to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young black men, 5-on-1. Looked like gang violence to me. It looked like what young black men do when they're supervised by a single black woman. And that's what they got going on in the Memphis Police Department. They've elected some or put some black woman in charge of the police force. And we're getting the same kind of chaos and disunity and violence that we see in a lot of these cities that are run by single mothers. If we want to discuss the breakdown of family that leads to disrespect for authority, that causes you to resist the police and run from the police and not comply with the police because you resist authority at all time, because there was no male authority in your home, let's have that discussion. But that's not where they want to take us. They want to take us down the path of saying, you know what, this is Tucker Carlson's fault. This is some random white, this is Donald Trump's fault. It's not. It's the breakdown of family and the buying in to all these left-wing things that have nothing to do with promoting family.
Now, the issue about single mothers in the black community is an issue to discuss, but not in that moment with Tyre Nichols. What single mothers had to do with any of that? I don't get what single mothers have to do with that situation. Single mothers didn't tell those 5 black race soldiers, because they were race soldiers, they were, to do what they did to that brother. So what single mothers got to do with any of that? Single mothers didn't create this white supremacist system. Matter of fact, the creation of single mothers come from the white supremacist system. Because if you remember Black History, we in Black History Month, even in slavery, black people were married more than even the white supremacists. After slavery, we was always getting married. Black people had the highest marriage rate. What messed up the family was when white supremacy introduced feminism, when white supremacy introduced no-fault divorce, when white supremacy introduced the welfare state, and at the same time undercutting the black man where he can't provide for his family. Because remember in the 70s, they sent all the manufacturing jobs to China when they can pay the Chinese person $2 a day, $3 a day, instead of paying a black American man who had a family at home. Black men in particular, used to go and work the factory jobs and anything else. Used to work one income, would take care of a household. They wouldn't stay in apartments. It wasn't no apartment living. Everybody had their own house. And when they took all these jobs away, manufacturing jobs that a lot of black men and other men too would get, you take all the economy out of the city. Look at Detroit. Detroit was a city for automotive, a lot of factories in Detroit. I know GM is still there, but not like it was back in the 70s. You close down any economy, the city gonna be destitute if they don't replace it. Look at LA. You take Hollywood away from LA and all the entertainment field out of LA. It's gonna turn worse than what it is now. You take oil and gas out of the Houston area. That's the bread and butter of Houston, oil and gas. You close all the 70 plus refineries and terminals in the Houston area and don't replace it with anything, it's going to become a cesspool. That's any city. And this government took all the jobs and okayed these corporations, because listen, when you start doing things overseas, the government got to approve a lot of that. They approved these corporations to take manufacturing overseas. America used to make all their own everything right here. There was even a pride at one time in this country about made in the USA. Notice that when they allowed them to ship all the jobs to China, the made in the USA thing went away. I remember at one point in time, you wouldn't want nothing Chinese. Say, I don't want that cheap crap. I want American-made goods. I remember it. In the 80s, people talking like that. Single mothers had nothing to do with this situation. Single mothers in the black community, once again, was created by white supremacy. All the fathers not in the household. We know by Gary Webb and many others that the crack cocaine and all that was put into the black communities. Listen to the documentaries from people that used to sell it back in the day. They used to sell it so much in front of the police, like even in New York, in front of the police, wrap around lines going to the dealer. And they wouldn't do anything until they start coming up with these tough on crime laws. All of a sudden now you're going to just 12 go in there and just get everybody, take all the men out. And majority of the men that was taken away were users, not dealers, users. You take a big portion of black men out the household, something that we have never had in our community, and leave it to women. And then it create a single mother epidemic in our community. And this government still backs up a single mother epidemic. Because when you will let people say, well, you can just have a child and we'll take care of it, it doesn't incentivize families to stay together. Everything that's been done by single motherhood in this country, even though people have a choice, is still done and supported by the white supremacist power structure. If we're going to discuss what created single mothers, at least in the black community. Jason Whitlock said all this crazy mess. He said single mothers run the city. I don't know no group of single mothers that run any city. Now, I know the Democrats run cities to the ground. I know that. I know Republicans run cities too. But single mothers running the city, like, that doesn't even make sense. But when you are allowed to have a mainstream media platform that spews nothing but anti-black propaganda, and the anti-black propaganda can come through anybody. Y'all have to understand that. We have a lot of anti-black propagandists in our own community. They are certified raccoons.
Was either 24 to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young black men, 5-on-1. Looked like gang violence to me. It looked like what young black men do when they're supervised by a single black woman. And that's what they got going on in the Memphis Police Department. They've elected some or put some black woman in charge of the police force. And we're getting the same kind of chaos and disunity and violence that we see in a lot of these cities that are run by single mothers. If we want to discuss the breakdown of family.
Jason Whitlock will always be given a platform to spew anti-black racism. He always will be. Any black person will be given a platform to do that. They will always try to uplift their raccoons, but the raccoon never have a good end because they don't respect them at the end of the day. Let me tell you something. A white nationalist told me something years ago when I was on this radio program, actually with a white nationalist. He said that we really are more concerned with basically the raccoon because how is it can you turn against your own race? That's what he said. How can you do that for another race? He said anybody who do that, we really don't trust them. He said, now we'll use them to speak what we want to speak without, getting us in trouble. He said, but at the end, we don't trust them because that is crazy. They would be willing to do that against their own race of people. That's a white nationalist said that to me. So they don't trust y'all. They don't trust you. That's why you never have a good end. You don't have a good end because they don't trust you in the end. And your own people don't want you in the end either. That's my main thing. I'm not going to sit up there and say things against my own people. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. Now, y'all may not agree with everything I say, but the core of anything, I'm not going to sit up here and say it's single black mothers is the cause of this. No, they're not. I don't care what single black mothers are doing. We could discuss those issues. But one thing I'm not going to sit up here and do is let somebody lie on single black mothers when they had nothing to do with a situation, especially with this. Jason Whitlock, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, but you're not ashamed. And that's the problem. But let me know what y'all think, ladies and gentlemen, about Jason Whitlock. Like I say, he's just being a raccoon. That's just what they do.